here, spending an hour with us. My name is Tyler Webb. I'm Supervisor Mitchell's deputy for unincorporated areas, and this is the information session for the community engagement partner aspect of our community budget pilot project, which we're very excited about, and we will be outlining the objectives of the project in just a moment. Next slide, please. I'm going to get us started with our land, labor, and life acknowledgement. Part of this is county policy, so we just start all of our meetings with this acknowledgement of the past and present. So I'll read this off right now. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we've occupied land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of LA County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Quiche Nation, San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, and San Fernando Band of Mission Indians. To learn more about the First Peoples of LA County, please visit the Los Angeles City/County Native American Indian Commission website at lanaic.lacounty.gov. Next slide, please. So now I'll get started with the labor acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge our debt to the enslaved people, primarily of African descent, whose labor and suffering built and grew the economy and infrastructure of a nation that refused to recognize their humanity. We recognize our debt to exploited workers, past and present, whose labor was and continues to be stolen through unjust practices. We acknowledge our collective debt to the indigenous peoples of this land, whose labor was forced and exploited. We recognize the immigrant and American-born workers of African, Asian, and Central and South American descent, whose labor remains hidden in the shadows, but still contributes to the well-being of our collective community. Thank you all for that. I'll move on to the agenda. So right now, doing some welcome and intros for about 10 minutes. Probably won't take that whole 10 minutes. Next, we'll go into the process overview of what participatory budgeting and the second district's version of that community budget, what that all is and what it means and what the implications are. And we'll then move on for about 15 minutes explaining the community engagement partner's role and the application process. And then we'll close out with some Q&A for 15 minutes at the end. So I ask that you all hold questions until the end so that we're able to move along the presentation smoothly because this is being recorded. Next, please. So in the interest of time, I'll just introduce all of our teams. If you all missed me in the beginning, my name is Tyler Webb. I'm a deputy for unincorporated areas for Supervisor Mitchell. So I cover most policy areas in all of our unincorporated areas. So I do a little bit of everything. Frederica McGee is our chief of staff. Isela Gracian is our senior deputy for housing and homelessness. She's the main lead on this project. Benny Williams, staff assistant for unincorporated areas. Francisco Lopez, Deputy for Environmental Justice, my co-lead on this project also. Tracy McGee, Deputy for Constituent Engagement. Tracy covers the areas of Ladera Heights, View Park, and other areas. Irma Galicia, Deputy for Constituent Engagement, covers most of South LA and Florence-Firestone for us. Moving on to our partners in the next slide, please. So we're super excited to partner on this project with Reimagine LA and Tres Lunas Consulting, as well as a participatory budgeting project. Many thanks to you all for being here today. Megan Castillo is the coordinator for Reimagine LA, or RELA for short. Maya Hendricks, who you'll hear from today, also is the outreach and organizing coordinator for RELA, and Deanna Zuniga is the principal and founder of TLC, which is Tres Lunas Consulting, and also Michael Cusack, project manager for participatory budgeting project. And with that, I'll pass to Maya to go over what is a participatory budget.
Thank you, Tyler. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Maya Hendricks. I'm the Outreach and Organizing Coordinator for Reimagine LA, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And today I will be introducing participatory budgeting to you all. Next slide, please. All right, so participatory budgeting is a process in which community members decide how to spend part of a public budget. Participatory budgeting can help to make local spending more equitable, and it also can strengthen local democracy because it gives people real power over real money that impacts their community. Next slide, please. This is a typical model of the different phases of participatory budgeting. And the cool thing about a participatory budgeting process is that they all look different because each community that develops a participatory budgeting initiative has the power to design the process. So that's phase one. And then next, it's brainstorming ideas. So this is the part of the process where we get to ask community members what the needs are in their areas. We get to ask you all to dream up different ideas that could help contribute to the needs that you all see in your communities, making your community stronger, to which then we take those ideas to community-based organizations, and then we develop real life proposals. And that those proposals include different ways to make these ideas that community members have into a reality. So that's like including how much staff would be needed, how much funding would be needed to achieve the goal from the idea. The next process, or the next phase in a participatory budgeting process, is then the voting phase. So once the proposals are turned into ballots, the community members get to go and vote on what proposals they would like to fund, giving them control over a pot of funding that they wouldn't normally have any say-so in. Finally, the proposals that win are funded. We analyze the results of this process, and we hope to be able to do it again with an increased funding in the future. Next slide, please. Now we're going to get into a little bit of different participatory budgeting models in the history of participatory budgeting. For some of you, it may sound like a new concept, and for some of you, it may not sound new. You may be familiar with it. So participatory budgeting was first developed in Brazil in the late 80s. Brazil, you'll see it's circled in the lower left-hand side of the map. And they were transitioning from military dictatorship into democracy. And the idea that they had in Brazil was that democracy can spread a little bit farther than just taking input on community members for different policies that they want to see, they decided that they wanted to be a little bit more radical and actually give community members a say-so into where the funding goes. Since then, PB has been used in over 7,000 locations across the world. In the United States alone, communities have spent over $400 million using participatory budgeting, which is a really cool statistic. Not a lot of people get to have a say-so in where government money goes. So this democracy is really changing. Participatory budgeting is really changing the way that community members can access government funding. Next slide, please. Since then, participatory budgeting has become more common, and here are some different iterations in the United States that folks may be familiar with. All of the dots on the map represent a different participatory budgeting process in the US. Locally, Long Beach has been running a process for many years that some of you may be familiar with, and LA City is on their second cycle of a participatory budgeting process as well. And now, with the support of you all in the community and with Supervisor Holly Mitchell's office, we are bringing participatory budgeting to LA County in the unincorporated areas of Florence-Firestone and Ladera Heights in Supervisorial District 2. And if we can go to the next slide, we will take a look at some images that a typical participatory budgeting process has. So the first picture that you'll see on the left is a community gathering where folks are getting together, discussing the needs and priorities that they want to see, that they see in their community. So some examples of that may be folks see that we need alternatives to incarceration in the community. We need more resources, reentry resources. And so this is a place where folks can discuss that and develop things that they could see as solutions. In the second photo in the bottom of this slide, this is a photo of folks developing concrete proposals after these ideas and priorities were already solidified. So these folks are taking those ideas and developing them into the proposals that we mentioned earlier, which include staffing and funding and things of that sort. And then finally, the last photo on this slide is a participatory budgeting process in Denver County Jail, where folks there, some incarcerated people, are getting together and being able to decide how funds are spent. And so this is just to show you guys basically what is happening in this participatory budgeting process, and just to give you a little visual imagery of what you all will be doing. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to my colleague at SD2, Benny, to talk about the goals of the community budget process.
Thanks, Maya. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benny Williams, Staff Assistant for Unincorporated Areas. Talk to you guys a little more about the SD2 participatory budgeting project. So for this project, we have some pretty clear goals that we've outlined. The first being to increase our community in their civic engagement, and we see that through holding culturally competent and accessible in-person and virtual engagement opportunities for our committee to be a part of and build their proposals and brainstorm. We see our second goal being building trust and transparency with constituents. Through this project, we plan to disseminate the findings, kind of look at lessons learned and how we can scale this in the future. And our third goal is to increase the capacity of Reimagine LA Coalition and community-based organizations to support the implementation of this pilot program. So for the community budget, as mentioned earlier, it's going to be from two different communities in SD2, one being Ladera Heights and Florence-Firestone, 1 million in discretionary funds exclusively for the project, and capital and programming funding for projects. So the outcomes that we really want to see out of this pilot program is one, empowering the community to work collectively to decide on investments in the area, increasing the number of civically engaged community members, sort of building that trust and increasing that transparency with constituents, especially in our unincorporated areas, and having equity and effective public spending, and kind of scaling that for the future and our future of governance. So in front of you, you can see the timeline of this program. As you can see right now, we're in January, so we've already selected our advisory committee and we're in the design process. And so that will move on for the next couple of months, and then we'll start seeing that brainstorming ideas coming into effect from March to May, and then developing proposals and voting sometime later this year. I'll pass it over to Megan and Arila.
Thanks so much, Penny. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Megan. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm with the Reimagine LA Coalition. And I'm just going to share a little bit more about the role of the community engagement partners in this process. So the community engagement partners will support outreach and engagement through each phase of the participatory budgeting pilot program. Selected organizations will conduct outreach and engagement opportunities to ensure that community members in your neighborhoods and residents in your neighborhoods hear and learn about the process overall, make sure that they understand how they can get involved and access information and the resources, and then also participate in each of the phase of community budget processes, which Benny just talked a little bit about. Some examples of community engagement partnerships, supported outreach and engagement activities can include hosting information sessions, idea collections and activities, voting activities, digital outreach via social media, email distribution list, phone banking and text banking, and then of course, in-person canvassing and flyer distribution. And then I'll pass it to Tyler to share a little bit more about the timeline for this process.
Cool, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link to the application for the community engagement partner interests. If you all are interested in that, that's in the chat right now. So I'll go over the timeline. So obviously today, January 29th, we're hosting the information session on the community engagement partners. And then the applications will be due by, I believe that's next Friday, February 9th at 5 p.m. And then we will review them for about a month or so. Make an initial offer on March 8th, and we'll likely be requesting more materials to submit if you are given that initial offer. And then the week of March 18th, we will onboard and do an orientation for our community engagement partners. Next slide, please. So the planning committee, which consists of the second district, Reimagine LA and TLC, as well as the advisory committee, will review and score the applications received. Selected applicants for the initial review will be asked to provide a budget breakdown of how they plan to assist with the community budget pilot program. And once that is finalized with the entire group, the advisory committee will finalize it and vote on it. And if we weren't clear on that before, the advisory committee consists of residents, community members from Ladera Heights and Florence-Firestone. There's 6 from Florence-Firestone, 5 from Ladera Heights, and that's because Florence-Firestone has a much bigger population than Ladera Heights. So that's how we balance the advisory committee. And as I said before, once the advisory committee votes on which organizations they want to participate and help out with this work, you'll receive an offer with a memorandum of understanding, the MOU. Next slide, please. So conflict of interest, if any of the if any of the advisory committee members are affiliated with any organizations applying for this grant opportunity. The org itself may be ineligible, but if they do make it through the review process, the advisory committee member will have to recuse themselves from voting for obvious reasons, being conflict of interest. Apologies if you all can hear my pet, she's making a lot of noise. But yeah, that was it on the conflict of interest. If we go to the next slide, you all can find our page on community budget at mitchell.lacounty.gov/cb-2023. And you can also scan the QR code. I dropped the link to the application in the chat, but it's also on the website. And with that, we can take questions. And feel free to raise your hand if you have a question, or you can put it in the chat also. There's a question in the chat that is it one grant awarded per area? If anybody on the team wants to help me out with that, I believe we have enough funding for 4 or 5 community groups to assist. The grants will be for about $10,000, and we have about 50,000 allocated. So
that's right. We will have definitely at least one organization per area, and then population wise, we want to make sure that we're reaching. So Florence-Firestone would likely have additional organizations or reach because of there's just more population in Florence-Firestone than Ladera Heights. Tyler, see another hand. I don't know if you want to go chat or say hand.
oh yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Hi, everyone. Jen Garcia, Employ California. Nice to be here. I have a question of number one, the time that would be involved that we should dedicate to being a part of this wonderful opportunity. And then 2, could you give us some ideas of what having these educational events and campaigns, what it would look like with some ideas you have already of how we could serve in that way.
And just a point of clarification, when you're asking about time, it's if you are selected and invited to be one of the community engagement organizations. I'm going to lean on our RELA colleagues for that piece.
Yeah, some events include like listening sessions where you host either maybe at a park or if you have a brick and mortar at your location, and you just bring local community members to whatever space to just learn more about participatory budgeting, but also to ensure that they are crafting and designing proposals that will be turned into budgetary proposals so that community members in the local neighborhood can vote, and have them funded. So it's really just additional arms and legs for us to be able to reach, local community residents, whether it be in Ladera Heights or Florence-Firestone, and hear directly from them about what they want to see funded. Does that answer your question? Cool. And then I saw a question from Dana in the chat that said, if you are a nonprofit that just started, does that matter? Not necessarily. I think it's more so just about the reach and your commitment to be able to reach as many folks in your community as possible. If you are a smaller or a new nonprofit, you can possibly use the stipend to, I don't know, support folks who will be on your canvassing team, or make sure to use the funds for food if you want to host an in-person session or whatever the case may be.
And I'll add to what Megan and everybody else shared. And for those of you, I was in the intros on the picture, but I had spoken. So I'm Isela, and I'm Supervisor Mitchell, Senior Deputy on Housing, Homelessness, and Planning. And we're really looking for organizations and people that help us strengthen our reach and connection to residents in both of these communities so that they can participate. So there's a reach that our current partnership has, and we have an advisory committee. So we're really looking for organizations that can augment that are familiar with the communities, that will be able to bring to the table opportunities that we don't already have with, through the county networks, through our partners networks, because this participatory budgeting is successful with the participation of the constituents. So we're really looking for organizations that can help augment the reach, the touch, and the deep engagement with our constituents.
Yeah, there's a question that, will the recorded session be emailed to us? Yeah, we're happy to accommodate that. Do you qualify if you're a small business owner? We're looking for primarily nonprofit 501c3s, or if there's a fiscal sponsor, preferences will be given to those organizations. But if you're unsure and you still just want to get involved, feel free to apply anyways, and we will decide. Having trouble seeing all the questions in the chat. Also, feel free to raise your hands or just call out.
Yeah, I think some of them are comments. So let me do a quick scan. If you haven't heard your question responded to, could you come off mute and share it out loud if you dropped it in the chat? Oh, I see Steve. Based on future projects or programs in Florence-Firestone that's already being funded, will we be able to get that information with time so we don't reinvest on the same project or program? That's a wonderful question and information point that we will get together for both communities so folks are aware of what's up and coming. Anybody else, if you dropped in your question in the chat and you haven't heard us respond to it, just come off mute and let us know.
I was wondering if you by chance have a list of those that are representing the Florence-Firestone area to make sure that, we're not overlapping, or just want to make sure that we're not affiliated with anyone on that list.
We can share out the advisory committee members for folks. As included with the ask for the video recording, we can send that out to folks. And also the people on the advisory committee will help flag any potential conflicts. Thank you, Letty, for the question. That's all I see in the chat, unless anybody else sees that we missed anything.
I see a hand raised from Marco.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful opportunity. I work with a wide variety of LAUSD schools, and was wondering if this participatory budget initiative would be of interest to get input from students and parents to school communities.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure.
Absolutely, and highly encouraged.
Yes, definitely. I see a question in the chat from Steve, based on future projects or programs in Florence-Firestone that is already funded. Will we be able to get that information with time so we don't reinvest on the same project or program? I think I get the gist of your question, Steve, if you want to come off mute and clarify, but I think I understand the question is like, are we going to get a list of things that are already kind of in the works or things that the county is already working on, so there's no like duplicative efforts or anything? The answer to that is yes. I mean, I'm not sure if a list will be provided, but one of our parameters with how the money is spent is to not create anything like new or add any personnel to any existing department. Oh, you're off mute, but I can't hear you. No, I still can't hear you.
No,
Oh, got you now. Cool.
you got me? Okay, yeah, just based on past programs and projects have been in Florence-Firestone, we've had issues in the past that there was investment already in Florence-Firestone, depending on the program or project. And there's other individuals that get funded to do same thing that we're trying to, it's like reinvesting in something that's already been done. So it's like double funded for the same program. So I don't want to make, just want to make sure that doesn't happen again, you know, like based on past programs or projects. And that's really an issue that I have. Like when it comes to county, sometimes depending on the department, doesn't really share that information. So I just want to clarify, make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and Steve, we'll definitely, thank you for raising that. We'll do our best for both of the communities to make sure we have and share the information with constituents of what's already underway or planned and like a timing for that, so that folks have a sense of that and take that into account for what they propose and what they can vote on. I think where we might still have some gaps is if there's any organizations that are doing work that's not funded by or that by the county, or that our office is just not aware of. So we will do our best to have as complete of a list as possible for both of the communities, because your point's well taken and a very critical data point to have in proposing projects and deciding on them. So thank you.
And I'll also share that that's really where the community engagement partners will come in, right? They'll serve as partners in this work to make sure that we know what's happening on the ground, but also sharing information about the process and the project itself.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I am a small business owner, and I've been doing a lot of community service events throughout the years, dating back as late as 2015. I provide free gymnastics programs, as well as I set up at many community events throughout our parks, and I'll set up a pop-up spa and provide free manicures. Is there ever going to be a grant for small businesses who also provide services within our community? My heart is specifically towards the children and the lack of programs that we have in our area, specifically in our parks during the daytime. And I've been really trying to get my programs in the parks during the daytime, but haven't been so successful with that. So with that being said, is there any type of programs within, and I should let you all know that I'm servicing Ladera Heights area. That's where most of my clients are. That's where most of the schools I'm in are. So that, and I grew up in that area, so I have a soft spot in my heart for that area. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. So do you have any suggestions for me, or how can I get involved with what's going on?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. And the main reason why this is for organizations that are nonprofit or have nonprofit status is the funding source, and it's a grant and the mechanism for releasing like the funds. So for businesses that do wonderful work as you do and you're describing for community, one of the main avenues is partnering with a nonprofit organization and or setting up one that is in relation to your company. So we have some smaller businesses in our district that have that intentionality and have built out that infrastructure for providing that community service. So we can definitely work to figure out who to connect you with to learn more about that, and or in partnership here, any organizations that are focused in Ladera that are nonprofits that might want to connect with you, and you all can submit a joint application as well, for, and again, this part is to do the outreach and engagement and involve people in the process. It's not the actual project or implementation of the project. So I'm gonna be very clear about that. That what if you're interested in submitting at this stage, it's about you would be, if you get selected, you are the one that's going to be out there, you and your organization, people like doing, door knocking, passing out flyers, bringing people into the conversation about what their ideas are, bringing them in and out to vote once those ideas are selected. And then the entities or the organizations that actually do the projects are come later on. So if you're interested in being an implementer of some of the ideas, then you more than likely would not be part of the engagement process, because that's the potential of increasing the conflict of interest. So just to clarify that. But Kolisha, that would be like partnering with an organization and or
I'm partnered with one already. I'm
Okay.
partnered with a nonprofit organization. So I guess I'll go through the nonprofit to get this for this. Thank you.
And then there's also I don't know, Kalisha, if you're familiar with the Department of Economic Opportunity within LA County, but they usually have small business grants for, small business owners to kind of support and bolster their
I
work.
think you could put that in the chat.
For
so
sure. I think their most recent application may be closed, but it will be good for you to get on their mailing list. I'll drop that in the chat for you all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Any other questions before we close? Passing it to you, Tyler.
Yeah, we can stay on till 1:15. Anybody has any other questions? Went through this a lot faster than I expected, so. But
If we aren't able to apply for the time commitment, but we still want to support other organizations who are chosen, are we able to do that? And how could we get linked in with that?
I would say yes to that. I mean, any organization or anybody in the advisory committee is expected to stay in touch with the community as this process goes along. I mean, we'll also be blowing it up on social media about it. So yeah, there will be a lot of opportunities to get involved.
Wonderful, thank you. I was thinking, in the proposal writing process, I know that that's the bane of all nonprofits' existence. I don't know about you guys, but it is for me. And I could help with how generative AI could help with formulating, brainstorming, and walking and creating those proposals, because we do AI literacy training, so we could offer that to the proposal writers once that stage comes about.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that. We'll keep you in mind for sure. And we encourage you to apply still, even if you're still thinking about it.
I'd love to. My only hang up is that we serve LA County in general and not just those specific areas. And so that's what, I want to make sure that others who are focused on those communities have an opportunity.
A couple more minutes. If anybody has any lingering questions, feel free to raise your hand, call out, or throw it in the chat.
I have a question. If you are a statewide nonprofit, are you still able to apply for this grant? Or apply for this opportunity, not grant, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, preference will be given to those that focus their work on the Ladera Heights and Florence-Firestone, but all are welcome to apply to it. But if there's any work that you do that highlights like unincorporated communities or anything LA County specific or Ladera and Florence-Firestone specific, feel free to highlight that in your application.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And is that a new hand from Jasmine Mims?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So I'm kind of new to this and I'm trying to understand like what's going on. My sister told me to join the call. And so are we partners with you guys and we're trying to do outreach to teach people about participatory budgeting? Is that what's going on? Are we trying to get numbers or are we trying to see what the community needs? Like, what are we actually doing in the outreach process?
Yeah, you pretty much covered that in your question. If we can we share screen again and just go back to that slide on what the partner's role will be? Slide 21, if anybody has that up. If not, I could share my screen. Are you able to see this?
I am able to see that. So we will host, say for instance, I decide, okay, I want to host the information session. So I would get people to come in and I would just tell them about participatory budgeting, or is there anything that I need from the people? Or is it just me giving them information about the participatory budgeting?
I think it will be a little bit of everything. I mean, we can visit that further down the line. Like we can help determine the topics of the information sessions or however you want to make people aware of the project. So right now we're in the advisory committee stage where we've selected and have hosted a few meetings with the advisory committee, and with them we're kind of going over the parameters of the project and some funding priorities, and those will be distributed to the entire community to vote on further down the line, likely this fall. So that's when the greater community will get to vote on specific projects for what they want to see, what change they want to see in their community. And the engagement partners will help increase awareness of the project, so it's not just a few people.
Hello, how are you today? I'm all right.
Sorry, Ms. Turner, you're off mute. Oh, there you go. Cool.
Okay, you explained it clearly, like perfectly. Now I understand it 100%. So thank you for that.
Of course, glad I could help. See something in the chat. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, thank you all for joining us today and taking time out of your day. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to reviewing those applications. Please get those in by end of next Friday. Pretty please.